Throughout your life, you will see many things that'll make you go, so somebody actually thought that was a good idea. In the gun universe, there are many oddball ideas that understandably fizzled. Some have a followable logic. For example, the idea that more is always better. I mean, if 450 calibers make a good anti-aircraft gun, then 6 would be better, right? Well, it turned out not to be the case, as in this experimental 6-pack mounted on the hull of a Chaffee tank. But you can see the logic. Others might make you wonder what educated people were thinking. For example, let's put big open sides on the magazine of this show machine gun so the gunner can see how much is left in the magazine. Mud, dirt, grit, grime, potash, it won't be a problem. Okay, so we'll mount it on top. How about a pistol that ejects the empties right in the face of the shooter, on top of being overly complex and having a huge muzzle flash, and be considered, and I quote, the worst gun I've ever fired, end quote. Hey, I know. Let's take an already barely controllable full auto M14 and make an even lighter, shorter paratrooper model of it. What could go wrong? No. We're thinking too small. How's about an atomic bazooka? You think that's something? I call that nuke-zuka and raise it a 280 millimeter atomic cannon. All but not to be outdone, Mother Russia comes back with a 480 millimeter self-propelled atomic gun. Yeah, that won't wreck the suspension. No sooner did the military get helicopters than it started looking for ways to arm them. Now, putting a door gunner on a chopper to give it some self-defense makes sense. But it did not take long for rockets to follow, then more guns, then bigger guns, and I mean stupidly large guns. I knew an old crew chief who had helped rig an infantry M250 caliber to a Huey. It did not work well. He said the airframe was simply too light. It just wasn't set up for it. But that didn't stop the professional ordnance branch from coming up with even bigger ways to mount bigger guns on the same helicopter. First 20 millimeter cannons and then even 30 millimeter cannons. This isn't a joke. Somebody really thought this was a good idea. By the time they got it to more or less work, the military had dedicated cannon-armed helicopters like the Cobra. Another idea the Army played with in the mid-60s was to load up a CH-47 Chinook with rocket launchers, forward-firing 20mm cannons, a fully automatic 40mm grenade launcher in the nose, and then ring it with 5 50-caliber machine guns. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present Guns A Go-Go, the ACH-47 Chinook. Now, in its defense, this bad boy was a flying can of whoop-ass, but it was also a major league bullet magnet. 4 of them were made, and one shot itself down when a 20mm cannon broke loose and hit its own rotor blades. Another was shot down, but the crew escaped. A third was destroyed in an accident, and a fourth is on display at Redstone Arsenal. But the idea of big guns and little choppers didn't go away. One variant of the OH-58D, Kiowa Warrior, had forward-firing 50 calibers added to it. That's asking a lot from a light observation helicopter. That's probably why we spent all those money building dedicated attack helicopters. The 50 cals are still on Blackhawks, and pilots report that when it fires, they have trouble remembering their childhood. They claim it's far worse than when the miniguns fire. But the real complaints rolled in when someone got the idea for the Air Force Pavehawk, which is a rescue helicopter, to have the ability to lock its 50 calibers in a forward fixed firing position so that they can basically strafe like a World War II fighter plane. One Pavehawk pilot told me that shooting these things while in the fixed forward position is the most miserable experience of his life. Small wonder. Look where the muzzle is. What is that, 2 feet from his eardrum? Even in the tiny Kiowa Warrior, they had the good sense to put the muzzle away from the pilot's head. But perhaps I pick on the helicopters too much when there's so many others to make fun of, such as this jewel. I mean, do I really need to explain? Yep. As long as folks want to innovate, there will never be a shortage of not so great ideas. And brother, we ain't even scratched the surface. This is Captain Max. Live, love, and shoot safely.